Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for watching another one of my videos. I truly appreciate it. If you like my videos, please hit the like, share, and subscribe button to help grow the channel. I would really appreciate that too. Today I want to talk about cold fronts. March and April. You know, we're a little over midway through March. Got April coming up. We're still going to have cold fronts coming in, and some pretty good ones that's going to drop the temperatures way down. Like excuse me, we was in the 70s and 80s last week, and we had cold front come through. We had some snow, and the high, let's see, what day was it? Oh, I guess it was Sunday, because I think it was Saturday night the cold front came through. I was working DWI patrol for the state Saturday night, and boy, that wind, it was 20 degrees outside, and the blasted wind blowing gusts over 40 miles an hour. It was flipping cold. And then Sunday, I think the high was in the 20s, and then Monday the high was, I think, finally maybe broke 32. But anyway, you get my drift here. Going to have some cold fronts. It's going to drop the temperature down, which is going to drop the lake water back down some. And those cold fronts coming through, especially this time of year, is going to mess with the bass and all the other fish as well. Not just the bass, but fishing in general. But what are you going to use if you're still fishing tournament? If you're still fishing tournaments after these cold fronts, what are you going to put a tie on to still catch your fish so you can make a check? Well, these is my top baits for after cold fronts in the spring when I need to get a bite. And this is no particular order. I use them all interchangeably. I just see what the fish want that day, and we go from there. So number one, I'll say, is the 2.75 inch tube with a small weight, so it falls slow, and that little small tube can get you a lot of bites. I fish it usually on 6-pound fluorocarbon, so you're using light line and finesse tackle, and that little small tube. Most time I just kind of drag it along the bottom. I don't do a whole lot of hops after a cold front. Most time they won't bite it real well, or for me anyway, they won't bite it real well for me after a cold front if I'm trying to hop it some. Most of the time, if I can just kind of drag it across the bottom, and when I feel I'm coming up on a rock or a tree limb or a stump or whatever, I can kind of pull on it some and get it, and then just kind of pop it over. And when I pop it over, I just let it go back down at the bottom. Now, a lot of times when you pop it over something like that, you'll get a bite. But if I'm hopping it, I don't seem to get as many bites as I do if I wait until I feel an object and I pop it over that object, which is the bass after a cold front likes to orient themselves with some kind of object, whether it be a tree stump, a tree, a rock, a boat dock, or whatever, bridge piling, or whatever. So anyway, I feel like I get more bites just dragging along the bottom. If I slowly pull it across the bottom, I get bites, and then when I pull it up against something and give it a pop over that, I'll get some bites. But I don't seem to be getting as many bites if I'm hopping it like I do when they're active. All right, number 2 bait that I would try at some point would be a Ned rig. You can never go wrong with a Ned rig. Those Ned rigs catch fish. I'd start out with just the little normal short Ned rig, maybe even shorten it up a little bit. I have pinched those Ned worms off a little bit, you know, a half an inch or something, and made it even shorter, and that got me some more bites when they wasn't really on the Ned rig real well. I was getting a few bites. But if they want that smaller bait, pinch it off a little bit. Even those short ones, pinch it off a little bit, and see if that increases your bites. Another thing you can do is get the longer Ned rigs, the more 4-inch ones, and try that. Sometimes I've seen where they'll bite that bigger one better. But again, 6 or 8 pound test line, finesse tackle. The next thing, of course, is going to be the shaky head. I use anywhere from a 4 to 6 inch straight tail worm. Sometimes it's a Senko, and that's going to be my next bait anyway, so I might as well go ahead and mention it. A shaky head and a Senko. Sometimes I'll put the Senko on a shaky head. Sometimes I Texas rig it. But usually I'll get to my next technique here in a minute where I use that Senko. But shaky head, get you a 4 to 6 inch worm. 4 or 5, seems like I can catch more on 4 and 5 inch than I do the 6, but just experiment and see how they want it. Again, 6 8 pound test fluorocarbon line, and you want to work it around rocks, and you want to Texas rig it so it's weedless, so you can work it around stumps and brush piles and that kind of thing. But anyway, try the old shaky head, and I'll get to where I fish these here in just a minute. I'm moving up in line to get the kids from school. Boy, I'm tired. I worked Saturday night, Sunday night, and then again last night. I got about 4 hours sleep last night after working DWI patrol. And the state pays county and county deputies and city officers. The state will pay to work DWI and seatbelt and all that different patrols, for officers to make some overtime. Anyway, back to what I was going on. And this technique is I feel like kind of a forgotten technique. I don't feel like people use it as much as they could anymore. But a lot of people don't like this technique. I like it. I've caught a lot of fish. I've caught a lot of big fish, and I can get fish to bite it when they won't bite anything else. But the old ball and chain, the old Carolina rig, tie on that Carolina rig and and then cold front, a lot of times they're suspended, so I usually use a 3 to 4 foot leader during the cold front, so it's higher up off the bottom. If you see fish on the bottom, you can use shorter leader, but most time after a cold front, you're going to see these fish suspended along the edge of treetops and standing timber and rock piles and stuff. You're going to see those fish suspended, and you use that longer leader on your Carolina rig will let your bait, because I use floating baits on my Carolina rig so it floats up better, but that's what I do. I get those floating baits so my bait will be higher up off the bottom. On my Carolina rigs, I don't like it to be on the bottom. I like my Carolina rigs to be floating up. So anyway, Carolina rig, I put a Senko on it, put a centipede on it. I put I use the little mini lizards, those like little 4-inch lizards that you can get for cold front fishing. Most time I'll use a 6-inch lizard or a baby brush hog or something like that. But after a cold front, when they're finicky, it seems like I can catch a lot more on that little small lizard. A tube, I catch them on tubes. You can Carolina rig a tube, and when I do that, I put a piece of foam earplug up inside my tube to make it float, so it floats up. That's another little piece of juice there that you might not want to tell everybody about if you're fishing against them. Anyway, so that's my top baits. Where I'm going to fish those, I'm going to fish them on points, like saddle areas, like around where a bridge is, where it gets narrower and there's more current flow and that kind of thing. But definitely on points, bluff ends. This time of year where they're moving toward the flats to spawn, find that last deep water, especially if you have a channel swing right there. Fish the very end of that channel swing, right where it drops off into the deep water from the spawning flats. Still a bluff. If there's a bluff close by to your spawning flat, they may move back out on that bluff so they can just go up and down in the water column. And you work that Carolina rig and all these other baits that I've mentioned, stair step it down that bluff. But you can't go wrong with points, especially if you got rock piles, brush piles, standing timber, that kind of stuff on it. Those fish is going to be around that. If you can find if you have brush, if you're standing timber in your lake and you have cedar trees, a freaking cedar tree is amazing to catch bass out of after a cold front. They'll suck into that cedar tree, and you can pitch that Senko in the midst of that cedar tree and watch your line just jump. They will chomp that Senko. But anyway, this video is almost 15 minutes long, a little over 14 minutes long. That's long enough. If you have any questions about this, please leave me a message under my video, and I will get back to you and answer your question. Or if you have a topic that you want me to cover, leave that under here, and that'll be another video for y'all, and I will try to cover your questions as best as possible. If I don't know the answer, then I will shoot you in the right direction to get the correct answer. But I can definitely give you my opinion. And anyway, I'm gonna get off of here, and you guys have a blessed rest of your week, and I will see you guys out on the water.